The topic of interest here is 5 tips to get into investment banking as a career. And who better than Mr. Sudarshan Ramakrishna, the managing director of a leading investment bank, to lead this conversation. After all, he has 12 plus years of experience in investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, and building strategies. Welcome, Mr. Ramakrishna, and thank you for joining us today. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope everyone can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Okay. How would you like me to do it? I can talk, I think I can talk about particularly the 5 tips to be a good investment banker in terms of skills. Uh, should I go ahead or do you want me to cover a particular few topics? Very, very happy to be back here at this event.
I was waiting for you to come back for the entire year. I remember you were with us last year, and do you know after your session how many of our learners actually came back and they told us, that session was so educational. We learned so much. So it's so great to have you back. It'll be awesome if you could share those tips because now that we've gotten into that course where we're offering investment banking operations, our learners have these questions all the time. How can I become an investment banker? And is it tough? Is it tough to become an investment banker?
No, okay. So why don't I go ahead? Look, I think I'd probably break up, and I've actually been an investment banker now for 18 years, not 12 years. So it's been longer than actually my introduction suggested. I'll break it up into hard skills as well as soft skills. As we think about a career, I'll talk through the tips, particularly for entry level investment bankers, and then as you look to progress in your career, the skills that you have to work on. First and foremost, I'd say is analytical and problem solving skills. I think courses that have helped along the way of that has been anything to do with quantitative aspects to it, anything to do with problem solving, creating structures out of unstructured situations. I think all those courses and raw skills are very, very important for an investment banker. Second, I would say is interpersonal skills, understanding how to understand different personalities and figuring out ways to work with different personalities is also very, very important and core to being an investment banker. And the reason I say that is ultimately you're in a client service job out here, and your clients are, your most kind of important part of the business. We are in a service industry for helping our clients. And so understanding different clients with different personalities in different sectors, in different situations, maybe in different markets as well, is really core to kind of, what we do. I touch upon 2 other. So, I think these are the hard skills. The hard skills are analytical, problem solving, and anything to do with kind of, getting along with different people, which you could argue is a hard skill or a soft skill. And then, the other stuff which is important is ability to work in a high pressure environment. I think that is core to what we do. Task orientation is core to what you do. What I mean by that is you typically are working in very, very small teams when you're in an investment bank. So, our investment banking team would be anywhere between kind of 20 to 30 people, but each person is working across, call it 12 different projects in teams of like 4 and 5. And each of those 12 different projects will be different with different members of the team. And every person in the team has a role to do. So when you're in a client service job, you have to keep, doing projects for your clients. And every person's job is to have a task orientation, is to be able to complete their project on time, problem solve real time, move the client need ahead. And so I think that's also very important. And then last skill I'll say is commercial. So finance and commercial is business, finance, regulatory, legal. I think these are the three things that are probably very important, because most of the things that you're talking to your clients about, typically your client is the CFO of the company. You're talking about something to do with either their strategy around acquisitions, or maybe strategy around going public or doing fundraising. But the use of that strategy is in, growing the business and how you position the business. And so, not only identifying investors for these companies and making sure that your client is to be able to meet their objectives is important, but also working with lawyers, working with tax advisors, working with accountants, working with different other intermediaries to make sure that the project gets done. And your job is to typically think for the founder, CEO, and CFO of the business. So your job is to make sure that you can appreciate what they really care for, and what what can be delivered to them that will matter to them. So so I would say, yeah. So in terms of hard skills, I said analytical, I said interpersonal, I said business management, legal. And then soft skills is high pressure, client service orientation is the first one, and then typically task orientation, project management skills to move ahead.
So that's great. Very, very helpful. Also, another question that I get asked often by our learners who come in, they take up demos with us. They want to make their career in investment banking is, what is a day like in the life of an investment banker? What's the day like? Do I go into an air conditioned office and I work with a team, or is it more hard labor? Like, if you could explain to us what is the life?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I think of I want to say 80% of my job is entrepreneurial. I won't say it's 100%, but 80% of the job is entrepreneurial. What I mean by that is you have, you're creating your own work. Okay, let's put it this way. At least at my level, maybe actually let me talk about the day in the life of the investment banker across the team, right? So the team, I'm the managing director of the team. There will typically be an executive director, a director, an associate, and an analyst. I think the analyst job in the team is typically to be doing really the kind of core analytical work, right? So building the financial model for the business, working with the CFO's team to deeply understand the business, and projecting out what that would look like. And yes, the analyst job is a desk job, but it's a very client-facing job. So investment banking as a job has moved very well with the COVID wave, because I think technology has helped us, just like education, it's a knowledge industry. So ultimately what you're doing is you're working with your clients on Zooms, building out kind of the strategy models, and your physical interaction is at the time of the deal, when investors or the counterparties would want to not only meet to negotiate, because nowadays that you can do also on Zoom, but it's more site visits, visiting the facilities of different clients. I have gone, I think over the course of my career, I would say that, I've had the fortune, and this is the fun part of my job. Actually, I find the lawyer offices and the AC offices boring, because for me, it's very repetitive, right? The, getting out and going to the factory of the client, or getting out and going even to kind of the marketing office, sales office, understanding kind of the products that are being sold. If you're talking about a consumer client, that becomes very, very important. But in a typical job for a junior banker, I would say their hours are long, uh, but you get a lot of exposure to senior people at the client at a very young age, even though you're working alongside your senior team member, maybe a director, maybe an executive director, who's talking to the client and providing the advice. And so that can become very, very interesting. And as you go more senior, your job is to be out of the office. So for me, I would say I can work entirely. I mean, I want to say I could spend probably 80% of my time outside the office alongside my clients. And that's really kind of the job that I should be doing. And the rest is with the team to, to basically put together the advice that you need to the client. And the client's answer can be, questions can be very wide ranging. It can be, you know, I like the say I like the consumer sector in hair oil in South India. Can you come to me with 10 opportunities out there, and how should I evaluate those opportunities? It could be that, or it could be I want to go public, or it could be I want to acquire a business outside India. Please come in and help me think through how I can finance and structure that transaction. So it requires me not only to be with my clients, but also to be able to work a lot with my colleagues globally. So my network, for any client in India, when they're talking to me, I want to be able to deliver Goldman Sachs as the organization, right? And the firm, and any investment banker will want to do that, represent the firm that they're representing, and then being able to work with, provide any solution, financial solution to a client in any part of a geography that would be interest to them.
So thank you for that. I have one more. Maya, do we have time? We have time for one more?
Yes, we do.
Great. So one more question normally asked by all the learners. Now, the audience that is looking at investment banking as a career, especially the ones that are in touch with us, are those learners who are graduates. So they've completed their graduation, and now they are struggling between understanding, should I continue a career in accounts? Should I continue a career in financial planning? Should I get into financial analyst? Or should I pick up investment banking? And for them, one thing that is always confusing to them, and when I was young, I did that too, was starting salary range. So which one offers like a really strong starting salary range? And then what's the career path that I can pick up, which can give me faster growth? Is there something like that in investment banking?
Well, I mean, so I'll say this, I'll say all the courses that you've identified are courses that can help ultimately in a career in investment banking. That would be my view. Typically in investment banking, you typically tend to do an MBA as well, because I think that is something that comes very, very much in handy, because at a very young age, you have to have the ability to hold your own against people who have run their businesses for 25 years and 30 years. And your job is not to tell them how to run their business. We never go in and tell clients how to run their business, because clients know how to run their business. But what you are able to do is you're able to provide a service in a particular area of specialty, typically in finance or in business structuring or in advisory, where you have a network and you have the ability to deliver, opportunities to these clients where they don't know the other side. So you have to have that. And so I think an MBA helps. I will say this: investment banking today as a career, I think the when you say money is one of the things, but I think a lot of opportunities exist in India where young people have the opportunity to make money. And that could be in, the startup world as well. Actually, the wealth creation in the startup world is arguably can be more than that in investment banking. I mean, it may or may not be. I think it's a very different call. But so money is one of the many things. I think at the end of it, to like it, you need to like doing client service. You need to be a service provider, and you need to like to do client service. And if you do that well, you can reach the point where clients could come to you. And if you do it really well, you truly have the ability to be an entrepreneur in a very different way. I think all of us feel like entrepreneurs are, there's a very standard definition of how the entrepreneur is today, right? You set up your own business, typically you raise some external funding. Okay, in everyone's eyes, you're a successful entrepreneur. But I think having a job where 80% of your job is defined by what you do, but yes, you're answerable and accountable and you have your targets, but you don't have daily kitch of internal managing an organization. I think that in itself is a platform that is actually very privileged for a lot of people. So, that's something that this job provides by its nature of what it is.
Great.
Fabulous.
Thanks. I have just one question here. Sudarshan, I mean, amazing insights that I've been listening to, and it's really great to know that. I have just one quick question, a little out of textbook, right? A little to understand a couple of things. Um, uh, Investment banking as a business, after the Wolf of Wall Street, a lot of people started taking, wow, that's the lifeline, that's the lifestyle we get to live. Uh, how is it working with the bigger brands? And now you see a lot of these mom and pop shops also doing a lot of investment banking, a lot of these things. So where is it that, where is the focus of all this going on to? I mean, how do you trust? Where do you get into? What is the type of roles that we get into? The smaller ones, do they help us to grow up further? Or, do you wait for that right opportunity with the right company? So what would be your take on that?
So I'll say this, actually, the investment banking business in India is becoming quite mature as well. So if you look at the US, which has had a much more developed investment banking business, the boutique investment banks started coming up, I want to say, towards the late 90s. Okay. And so I think in India also has a bunch of boutique advisory banks, because ultimately, I don't have a product I sell, right? Ultimately, what I sell is a service, and it can be, if someone trusts you and trust your judgment, you are effectively, it's the person that matters. In certain cases, the platform matters. For example, as I said, I work for an international investment bank, so I can provide access into companies that I don't know today, but a partner of mine in the US might know. And so if you are a client and you want to get to know the founder of that company, I have the ability to do that. So there's a platform style of investment banking as well. I think there is a place for both, because I think our clients are growing. India's GDP is growing. Our clients are expanding. And because the industry is maturing, there are the traditional corporates who want a certain type of investment banker. There are certain corporates who want a platform, they want access, and they want global. And then there are certain pockets who want people who they trust and advise. And so I think the boutiques have done a very good job of, you could be an entrepreneur. As I said, an investment banking business, very entrepreneurial. You could have your core set of clients and be a good investment banker and run a business doing that as well. And that it's very, very different. But I think India is now at a place which can balance everything out. So
awesome. I get my answer there.